Now it's getting real interesting. The war between the old gods and the new has been on the horizon since the very beginning of the show, and with Wednesday travelling the country to recruit his fellow gods, I was curious to see what was happening on the other side of the line. The only new gods we've met thus far have been Technical Boy, who tried to kill Shadow, and Media. But for this new age of gods, who was their leader? And this episode gave us our answer as we were introduced to Mr. World. Crispin Glover debuted as the leader of the new gods, and in doing so gave the show its first feeling of a real antagonist. Technical Boy was out for blood, but he was more like an unleashed hound, whereas Mr. World, his imposing presence makes you know from the get-go that he is the man who is pulling the strings. Shadow learned this week that someone big was coming after Wednesday. He's still painfully unaware of what's really going on. That bloody police officer likely knew more than him before he was abruptly murdered, but something he did know from Wednesday's reactions is that he was fearful of whoever was coming after him. And quite rightly so, because as soon as those lights went out, the outlook for our two main characters wasn't exactly looking so bright. But bizarrely, after introducing himself to the audience, we found out Mr. World wasn't there looking for a fight. On the contrary, he was there to offer Wednesday a chance to find his audience in the present day. We know the old gods are struggling to find the power that they once had, so to be offered a peaceful way of merging with the new gods so that they could coexist together was a swerve that I did not expect. And if you hadn't figured it out yet, here we learnt the true identity of Wednesday, as his real name is Odin. He is the All-Father and the most prominent god of Norse mythology. He is the god of wisdom and the god of war, which perhaps explains his eagerness into convincing the other old gods into joining him for this fight. The war he is after could see his power rise to new heights, and the offer given to him by Mr. World would see that war never come to fruition. Instead, the Odin guidance satellite was his way of advancing with the world. The chance to wipe out an entire country and have millions of new followers all know his name must have been a tempting proposition. But he didn't see it that way. Comparing himself to an oyster, he felt all that was being offered to him was exile, as he was left to mull over the offer. Technical Boy was baffled that Mr. World would just leave him like that, saying that he has him and that he could get rid of him once and for all. But Mr. World respects Wednesday and all that he has done. He is the oldest god that has ever existed and would give him time to consider the offer. And as for Technical Boy's rudeness, Media gave him a little gift. Now, what I've been talking about was unquestionably one of the best sequences the show has produced, but let's not forget that we began the episode with Shadow finally coming face to face with his resurrected dead wife Laura. Throwing that pillow at her to make sure she was real was, as he said, about par for what he's ran into since he got out of prison. He spoke with her, they aired out their issues as Laura kissed Shadow and felt her heart beat once again. Her kissing him made her feel alive again. However, Shadow wasn't ready to fully forgive her. But before they could talk some more, he was whisked away by the police, and we know the events that occurred thereafter. Laura has some work to do if she's going to repair what she has damaged. But considering the abilities she possesses thanks to Mad Sweeney's coin, she has a good chance in succeeding in that matter. My overall verdict for this week's episode of American Gods is a very strong 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this week's instalment and I felt it was one of the best thus far. We spent almost half the episode in that precinct, but boy was it worth it. Shadow and Wednesday's capture coupled with Mr. World's introduction gave us a fascinating look into the war that is looming. The two figureheads of either side were in the same room together. It was old versus new. But in hindsight, we didn't really learn a great deal towards Mr. World's motives. He's still a very mysterious character. Why didn't he snuff out Wednesday there and then when he had the chance? Or does he honestly seek a peaceful merging for all of the gods that exist. Likely he'll have something up his sleeve, and it's almost certain Wednesday will refuse the offer anyway. Regardless, the scene was 100% the standout for the episode. It added a real sense of menace that the show just hasn't had yet. And with the addition of an antagonist, it allowed us to draw a line between the two sides of the war. Gillian Anderson also had quite the episode, portraying multiple personas such as Marilyn Monroe, which excelled her to being a highlight of the week. And you know, I felt the episode had a real solid flow to it. The transition between the motel, the new gods, and the police precinct was extremely smooth and deserves a mention for keeping me glued to the screen for the entire hour. Wednesday talking with the crows was hilarious and something I hope we see more of, and the animation that kicked off the episode showing one of the old gods losing their power was superbly crafted. Now back to Laura. The powers given to her, as we know, are via Mad Sweeney's coin. We learned that that coin is now within her, as Sweeney tried to bargain and reclaim what was his. Problem was, he couldn't take it, not even if he wanted to. A, she was too strong and her powers prevented him from it, and B, she had to give it back to him of her own free will. How to look in Sweeney's case, but he just continued to try, fail, and try again. You felt they were both just trying to out-arsehole each other, and Laura ended up pulling a smart move as she played dead, which turned out to be a speciality of hers. Even she seemed to find the funny side of it. Sweeney got away in the end, of course, after whatever the hell that tree branch monster thing was that killed the police officers, but likely he will run into shadow on Wednesday, as all three of them are fleeing the same scene. So will Wednesday take time to reconsider Mr. World's offer, or will he continue his travels and recruit more gods into his cause? That'll do it from me. What did you guys think of this week's episode, and what did you think of Mr. World's debut? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you on the next one.
I'm not your enemy.